Hello, I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley.
And I'm her daughter, Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Heidi and I want to welcome you to Open to Hope Conversations, the podcast.
We believe that the greatest gift you can give yourself after a loss is hope, using this moment to connect with others who have not only survived but thrived.
So let's get started. Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Horsley, with my daughter and co-host,
Dr. Heidi Horsley.
Well, as experts in the field of grief and loss, we're excited again to be tuning into ABC's Golden Bachelor and following along with Gary Turner's senior dating journey. Really exciting, wasn't it, Heidi?
It was, Mom. And we're down to the final two, Leslie and Teresa, who both have a lot of chemistry with Gary, and we will talk about that in the show. And I think they're all in love with each other. So we will talk. Right?
It's kind of a love fest, and we went to the fantasy suites.
Yes.
Oh gosh, and everybody agreed. We're going to be talking about three aspects of intimacy today, Heidi, and these aspects are in our new book. You can pre-order now, and it will be released on Valentine's Day. It's called Open to Love: The Secrets of Senior Dating. So we're going to talk about those aspects now, Heidi.
I love it, Mom. And I love that your book is going to be released on Valentine's Day. How appropriate. And I am honored to interview you, Mom, and your fiance, Dr. Frank Powers. You're both also known as the Dating Doctors. And we're going to regarding the ins and outs of finding hope and love after loss. And here's Dr. Frank.
All right. So Frank and I talked about this after watching the show, and we talked about what the three aspects are, and I'll just give them to you right now, and then we'll talk about the show and how they go into it. Yeah. But the three aspects of intimacy are not just physical. People think they are, but it's physical, emotional, and spiritual.
And that's a big difference between 30-somethings and people in our age group, is that it's much bigger. And it really is, even when you're 30, but I don't think you really know that until you get older.
Well, here's the deal. It's biological. We want to reproduce. Yeah. Nature is pushing those hormones to get people to reproduce. But you don't have that drive, on both sides.
But friendships matter. And I think that's one of the things that I love about The Golden Bachelor, is that Gary is struggling with this whole issue of, well, is this all about physical intimacy, or are there other things that are important? And to his credit, he's making other things important.
Right.
You can see it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And he talks about that pretty candidly. He says intimacy is not just about physical.
And good for him. I think to hear that and be validated that there, love in your 60s or 70s or 80s is much more than just a physical attraction.
Leslie did ask him, when was the last time you had sex?
And I know, and he was gassy.
He didn't exactly answer her. He just said it's been a long time. He didn't really answer that question. He kind of changed the subject a little bit.
Yeah, and she said, well, it's been a year for me.
Yes.
I wonder how that's going to play with him.
But then we switch over to Teresa. Yes, she was very happy to say, I haven't had sex since my husband passed away.
Exactly. On that, they're a bit more compatible.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the point I want to make is the fantasy suites, particularly maybe for the younger Bachelor nation, is a lot more about, getting it together and the sex thing. But that's exactly how it should be with nature. But as they move on, we're looking, as he is, with emotional. How are we going to get along emotionally? Yes. How are we spiritually?
And can we be best friends? And
yes.
Can you take care of me and me take care of you? And can we be there for one another? And it's all about safety. When you get older, you want to be with someone you feel safe with.
There are things in sexuality that you do need to know, and you do need to talk about it.
Yes.
And I would suggest, if you want to go further, we have a great chapter in our new book called Beyond the Bedroom Door. And that's where you can really look at the nitty gritty if you need, if you want to go there.
And you can look at it in the comfort of your own home.
Right.
Well, they emphasize the right things, I think, on the Golden Bachelor. And basically, for a program like this, I think they're doing a great job of presenting the issues of a later relationship in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he talks a lot about how he likes pillow talk, and that's
Right,
part of intimacy.
exactly.
And that is both emotional and spiritual intimacy, and those
Mhm.
become much more important when you're in your 60s and 70s.
Yeah, and a lot of guys that I hear in their older years talk about cuddling.
Cuddling.
Yes,
That's a
cuddling.
new term
Cuddling's
for
the
physical
word.
intimacy.
I love
Cuddle
it.
of being emotionally involved.
Well,
Cuddling is
exactly.
being
And
close.
and I think cuddling does kind of emphasize the fact that this is all about connection,
Yeah.
Hmm.
both emotionally, spiritually, and physically.
I got the impression that with both Leslie and Teresa, they talked all night.
Yes.
Well, at least until the early morning. They say it was up till 2. So
So, that's where they were exploring the emotional and the spiritual.
exactly. And pillow talk is an important thing, I think, in all ages, but particularly when you get a little older, the connection, the quiet intimacy of talking about intimate things with one another is just priceless.
And Gary talked about he wanted them to feel safe, and he wanted to be.
Hmm.
Sure.
Absolutely. And it's all about safety at this point in your life. It is very important. You want to feel safe and you want to be with your best friend.
And they're intimate, and you're
Absolutely.
emotionally, you want to feel that
Yes, yeah.
connection, that they've got your
And
back.
that's what we found.
Yep.
And that's also in the book.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, and he even took Leslie and Teresa on like experiences where they kind of didn't feel safe. So he needed to, be there for them. I mean, Leslie went rappelling down the side of the mountain, and Teresa went horseback riding in the water. And so, and that was interesting to see how they all acted together and how Gary was like reassuring them that he was
And
there for
I
them.
think it was not unconsciously on purpose that one was
Uh-huh.
rappelling off a cliff and the other was riding a horse.
Yeah. Yeah, we were thinking that one is a little more exciting.
Yes, a little more adventurous and whatever, and the other one is a little safer.
might
So we're
be-
going to see which Gary chooses because it's a real choice. These two women are different; they're not the
Yeah.
same.
They are, and I think both of them have things that he really likes. So how is he going to make
Oh,
this final decision,
absolutely!
right?
Oh my God, I wouldn't want to be in his position. What
No.
what a tough choice.
He's got so much in common with Teresa. They're both
Mhm.
widowers. They're both
Oh yeah,
uh,
she is much safer, I think.
and she's had a
emotionally.
career
Yes,
like his wife,
yes.
and she's
Yes.
working, and
I think it's very interesting, and we've talked about this, is how much they look like his wife.
Mm,
Leslie.
that's interesting.
It's really
Leslie.
amazing. Yes. Yeah, they're both dark haired, they're both lovely, they're both very warm and very connected.
Yeah.
And that apparently was the way his wife was.
Yeah.
So Gary has a type.
Well, I think we all do. We all
Yes.
have this unconscious picture of
Mhm.
in the past that have been safe and comfortable, and we carry that around even though we don't realize how
And that's
important
part
it
of the
is.
emotional, when we were
That
talking
is
about
the emotional safety because
intimacy.
what's familiar is safe.
Mhm.
And
Right.
so what's familiar, and these two women do look like his wife, and they have similar aspects to the personality, and I think he feels safe with them.
Mhm.
Getting to spiritual, Frank and I were talking a little bit about spirituality, and sometimes it's even fundamental. I mean, you have the same values, an important element, a little feeling of it with Gary and Teresa, because they both have, not been sexually active, it sounds like, since,
And they're very family oriented.
yeah, very family
Very.
oriented.
From the very beginning, he and Teresa really connected quickly.
Remember, there are three aspects. It's not just physical. The physical in our society gets blown, out of the water because of the power of it and the younger generation. And
Well,
again,
in movies
Yeah.
and other times,
Mhm.
that
You
is the
wanna-
piece that's
yeah.
emphasized.
Eh,
And the other, I think it's short-circuited, but it's just as important, if not more, as you get
the
older.
emotional and spiritual. And I think Gary shows that all along through the whole
To his
thing.
credit,
He keeps
I think
coming
he
back to
does,
it, coming
yes.
back to it,
And
coming back to
I
it through
really
all
think
the
he's an
shows.
ambassador for how to have a good relationship in your golden years.
That's right.
Mhm. I agree, Dr. Frank.
So we would suggest that you look at these areas for yourself,
Exactly.
physical, emotional, and spiritual, and realize that these are all aspects of intimacy.
Yes,
It's
and don't
not just
underplay the emotional and spiritual,
Mhm.
because it's really important.
Yeah, and again, if you really hung up on some little aspects of the spirit of the physical, you can get our book Open to Love: The Secrets of Senior Dating. On
We do have a whole
Valentine's and love.
chapter.
Yeah, we have a whole chapter, or you can go on the internet. There's a
Yeah,
lot
a lot of good
going
information.
but get that information about those details. But the emotional and spiritual are so huge.
I'm
mean,
really happy that they're coming to the forefront in the Golden Bachelor.
Yep.
It's a nice thing they're doing.
okay, so they're gonna leave us cliffhanging over.
I know. Who is he
Thanksgiving.
going to choose? It's really good, healthy entertainment, and that
Yep.
I'm really happy
Well, I
about
just think
them.
that
Yeah.
they've brought these senior aspects. I mean, it's a gift.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
a
it
gift.
is a
It
gift.
is a real gift, and
Yeah.
and I'm really happy that we've been able to do this podcast. It's been fun for us. I mean, it's really like the living book.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
wonderful.
Well, to be continued, because there might be a Golden Bachelorette after this.
I
Yeah.
know, that'd be exciting. Yes.
Fun.
Yeah, and a couple of the women I think are vying for that. I saw a piece
Yes.
that really, in a sense, had faith on it, and she was talking about wanting to be the Bachelorette. So
Mhm.
I think these women see a real possibility in this, and there is. I mean, why wouldn't they want to have 20 guys that they could pick from?
But-
not a bad odds. I mean, not better than
No.
that in real life.
Thank you, Dr. Gloria and Dr. Frank. And I look forward to our next podcast when there will be one final rose. I can't wait to see who gets it.
Yes.
Absolutely. If you've lost hope, please lean on ours until you find your own. And thanks for joining us on this show. And God bless.
God bless.
I'm Dr. Heidi Horsley. You have been listening to Open to Hope, the podcast. You can follow Open to Hope on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. To learn more, visit us at opentohope.com and go to Apple Podcasts to subscribe.
I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley. Join us again next week for another Open to Hope conversation, where we invite you to lean on our hope until you find your own.